Hello everyone, welcome to VT Data Engineering channel. As part of this presentation, we will explore the world of data lake and delta lake. What is a data lake? We go a little bit back to the traditional. So in the traditional data management, we used to have data warehouse to store entire organization's data. However, data warehouse mainly allows a structured data, whereas in the recent times, so we are having the data is explored. It's not only coming in terms of structured, it's coming in structured, unstructured, semi-structured, and even in terms of images as well. So from different social media. Oh, the existing data warehouse is not able to accommodate the different data types. So, what is the solution? So, in the world of modern data management and as well as in the cloud, in the cloud world, we have a solution in terms of data lake to stored varieties of data. So, mainly data lake, it can be classified as a large scale storage repository for housing a variety of data in its native format. So when it's native format, however, whatever the format the data is coming in, you can directly store in data lake. You do not need to convert to any different data format. So that is what it means by native format. And the data could be stored. The data could be structured, semi-structured, unstructured. So the structured data is if the data is coming from relational databases. Semi-structured data could be JSON logs, unstructured data such as text files and images. Data lake provides a lot of flexibility and scalability. The flexibility in terms of different variety of data can be stored, and at the same time, even if the news source is planning to send you the data, you do not need to worry what the news source is, what the data is coming. So data lake will be able to accommodate even if it is completely new different source. So in terms of that, it provides a lot of flexibility. And from the scalability for data storage, as and when you need more storage, and you can scale up the data lake. So, and it also throws some of challenges, since you are just storing the data as you are receiving it. You are not enforcing any data governance rules, and there is a consistency issue as well. Probably you are just dumping the data and you do not really see whether it is consistent across all the files or in their organization. So we will talk about limitations of data lake in the next slides. And what are the use cases for data lake? Oh, as we discussed, eh, when you have when you have data coming from different sources, you can use data lake. Since traditional data warehouse can only handles structured data, and now in most of the organizations, in most of the scenarios, you are not expecting only structured data. So you are expecting diversified data from social media or from different sources. You are expecting structured, semi-structured, you know uh, even images. So data lake can be used when you have data coming from different sources. And since this data is all varieties of data sitting out in one place, it would be easy for data scientists, data analysts to explore the data and find the trends to make the data driven decisions. And it also supports advanced analytics initiatives like machine learning and artificial intelligence. So since data is sitting out in one place, it also provides a data archival capacity. So in some scenarios where regulatory will enforce you to store data only for a certain time. After that, the data needs to be put it in archive, the data archiving capabilities. So it also serves the regulatory compliance as well. And as we talked in the first slide, it comes up with some limitations. As we know, it just storing as they are coming in, and you are not enforcing any data governance rules, whether the data is really can be stored or not. So it is, since you are receiving as they are coming in, it's not that we cannot enforce data governance, but it doesn't really support the data governance. So because of that, there could be data quality issues could be arriving. And we also will see some security challenges, because these are these are not relational or traditional data where you can enforce security or restrict to some of the data, since these are coming in terms of files mostly. So it would be difficult to restrict to certain data, and this also throws some security challenges. And since we are talking about huge data sets, and in order to query the data out of or use any engine or any APIs on top of the existing huge data sets would lead to a query performance as well. So performance hurdles when you querying large data sets. And one more thing, as we said earlier, it doesn't enforce any schema evaluation, in the sense whatever the data that you are getting, you are receiving as they are. You are not enforcing that, okay, are you sending data in a particular format or in a particular layout. So we don't have, we the data lake doesn't enforce that. So because of that, so there will be a, complexity in managing schema evaluation for changing data formats. So these are few limitations of data lakes. And let's see how we can overcome the limitations of data lake in the next slide. So far we talked about data lake, and we talked about some of the limitations of data lake. And what is Delta Lake? Delta Lake is an open source storage layer that sits on top of Data Lake. So let's go, before we talk more about Delta Lake, let's see the picture here. So this is a representation of Data Lake and Delta Lake. So as you see underlying here, it's a data lake. So the data lake could be in terms of Amazon S3 or Azure Blob and Google Cloud Storage or any IBM Cloud. So anything could be served as a data lake, and now you create a delta lake on top of the existing data lake. And from here, you can use any APIs or processing for your further analysis for the streaming analytics, BI, or data science, or for machine learning. And let's see what are the features that are offered by Delta Lake. Delta Lake, it provides ACID transactions for data consistency and reliability. So, which what it does is, so in case of storing data in Data Lake, it doesn't really guarantee that the data is stored or in half through it something got broken. Whereas in case of Delta Lake, it enforces data consistency and reliability, which means that either the data is fully committed or rolled back entirely. So we can think Delta Lake as a Delta Lake. I introduce another term. There is a term called Delta Table. So Delta Table will be created in Delta Lake. And you can think this as a relational table where you are creating in Delta Lake, and that table, underlying table, I'm sorry, the table will point the file sitting out there in Data Lake. So it is a table structure that you are seeing in Delta Lake. So this way you can use Delta Lake table as any other regular table, and it's easy for you to understand the structure of the data, and at the same time it's easy for you to query it as well. So it is as simple as that. So data lake, you see a file. In delta lake, you see the same file data in terms of a table. So this is as simple as that. So as we said, so it's a table. Obviously, when you are creating a table, it enforces the schema evaluation, and you define based on the file layout, you define the schema and you use that data in the table. So, and here are the benefits of Delta Lake. So partitioning and bucketing, like any other traditional database, so delta lake table also supports partitioning and bucketing. So partitioning is you can define a partition based on a specific column, and this allows for faster queries by efficiently locating relevant data subsets. And bucketing, as we know, an underlying storage, right, it stores in terms of buckets. And delta lake also, when you create a table, it stores data in different buckets. So when you are querying, it goes to a specific bucket and get you data. So this improves the access speed for frequent access data. Time travel, so every time you do a commit in Delta Lake table, it maintain a transaction log. So because of that, it's allowing you to query historical versions of your data. So let's say in case there were 4 or 5 commits happened on the data, and now you realize that the previous version or even prior 2 commits, you would need the data. You can directly go to that particular transaction log, and you can use that log to revert the data. So this is a built-in rollback feature enabling you to revert to previous states if needed or analyze trends across time. So let's say if you want to see at so and so time and day what was the state of the data, using time travel you can go and view the data. So this is a same sort of feature that Snowflake is also offering, time travel, and Delta Lake also offers the time travel. And we already discussed schema evaluation. Delta Lake tables gracefully handle changes in data format over time. You can add, remove, or modify columns in a schema without rewriting existing data. This flexibility is crucial for evolving data models. And asset transactions, this also we talked about. And it's all or nothing in a simple terms. So either you fully commit or you can completely roll back. And the Delta Lake also offers unified batch and streaming data processing. Delta Lake eliminates the need for separate pipelines for batch and streaming data. You can use the same Delta table for both real time and historical analysis, simplifying data pipelines and reducing complexity. So, another one important thing I would like to share here, you can create a Delta table in Delta Lake or a non Delta table in. So when you create a delta table, it comes up with all the features that we discussed so far here. When you create a non-delta table, so the non-delta table mostly it points to the underlying Parquet table. It it is kind of a read-only table. So it doesn't comes up with a time travel where you can basically when you create a non-delta table, Delta Lake doesn't support the transaction log, which means that you cannot go back to previous versions and see what happened on that particular table. So it is like it doesn't allow asset transactions, and it would be in order to do inserts updates, it would be very difficult on non-delta tables. So it is recommended to use Delta Lake in Delta Lake and Delta Lake and Data Lake. So thank you for watching.